Hi, this is Stephanie from Indigo Perspectives with Gord McLaughlin here of McLaughlin Management,
McLaughlin Realty,
and
many things McLaughlin.
So what I wanted him here for is that he has a very fascinating story from his roots to his present, and I wanted to share it because it's a very unique path that a lot of people don't talk about and like don't experience. And so I just think it's really cool how you went from one place to the next, and like the way you got there, and the perspective that you have, I found was very fascinating. Ooh. So why don't you just tell us what where you come from, basically.
Okay. I guess start with the sort of born and raised in born and raised in Windsor, Ontario, Windsor, Detroit, and had grew up in kind of the blue collar way, as lots of people in Windsor do. Dad was a firefighter before firefighters got paid anything, so I grew up next to the train tracks, kind of thing, and raised kind of by my grandma. She's has a British background, and so kind of very proper, a lot of propriety, and raised in a really conservative Christian church. It's a big part of growing up in kind of a weird one too, not necessarily what you'd sort of think of as church. We wore like uniforms and stuff like that, and it was
really?
So I've been in some kind of uniform since I was like 7 years old.
Okay.
I kind of grew up through that. Probably when I was about 11 years old or so, discovered music, and music was really kind of became my thing. Just adored playing drums, and had an affinity for it. So got lots of opportunity to do that in Detroit, and sort of through high school thought I'd like to be the great philosopher musician. So pursued that, and then things like rent and mortgages, became a reality later, and ended up doing other things like some of us, a lot of us do. It led to a really weird path, I guess, that looking back on it now, right? It seems weird. At the time, it seemed like exactly what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
And that was the theme, I guess. The theme was always like, this is what you're supposed to do, Gordon.
The programming.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was it for sure. Yeah, that was always sort of this is this is what you're this is what you're born to do. This is what you're supposed to do all along. You're doing exactly what, and a lot of it was couched in sort of this is God's will for your life. And so I had kind of a skewed perspective around God's will. It was always something that was external that I was supposed to adhere to. And I didn't really own it. And so I guess the long story short is that after 27 years in a relationship, 24 and married, and being ordained as a pastor in that particular version of Christianity, and going through all of that motions, but never really owning it, it all fell apart. And I ended up leaving my ex, and sort of starting this journey to say, what exactly is real for me? And it was the first time I think I'd really asked that question: what is real for me? Instead of what's the reality that you want me to adhere to that you're telling me is the right thing? Yeah. So that's really kind of how we started, I guess, this transitionary thing that you're talking about.
Yeah.
That's where it came from.
So what was there like an event, or was it like the split? What was it that said what something needs to change? Or
it was always there. And looking back, I mean, as we often do, hindsight being what it is. Looking back, I can see sort of traces of it, things where I would sort of like deviate from the accepted path and get a hand slap or something for it, right? It's like, no, Gordon, that's not you're supposed to, that's not what you're, that's not in the dogma, or that's not in the
conditioning,
the allowed, thought.
Yeah.
And so I get outside of it, and then I've always been a writer, and thanks to there's a teacher in high school, Bill Van Wyck, and he encouraged me to. He said, you have a gift. You can write. You're observant, and you can put it in words. Which is, I guess, what a writer should do. But he said that, and so I've always sort of had that in the background. This like always wrote out my thoughts or tried. And so, I guess I started kind of like a little poetry blog sort of thing. I just started putting stuff up there and putting it out there, and people would interact. And it wasn't massive or anything, but I think if I walk back through that particular instance of my writing, you can see that my mind is changing, or that I mean, maybe some of it's just sort of like, Maslow's, like, understanding, but, I'm getting older and looking back and taking stock, but whatever it was, you could certainly see that I basically I got tired of faking it.
Yeah.
I got tired of adhering to something that that wasn't fully bought into. And I needed to find out exactly why and what.
So I feel like that's kind of an awakening. It's like
Yeah.
you were kind of aware of it in the background, and
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden it was just like, you know what? I just need to be me. I just want to find out who underneath it all is the real, authentic, aligned.
Well, and I got a taste of it as a teenager. So, like, playing music and sort of like I had a lot of freedom as a teenager, and so I almost felt like, it's like I remembered that guy. And I thought that guy would liked what he was doing and really got a lot of fulfillment from it, and that liked the people around him. And where is that guy?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So bring him back.
Yeah.
So do you want to fast forward now to a session that we did together, an intuitive Reiki session?
Yes.
I don't remember, because that's the way it is. I
No,
don't
exactly.
remember the things that come to me, because as soon as I channel information for you, for your soul, whatever your soul wants you to know for your highest good, it leaves me.
Yeah.
So, because that would be a huge filing cabinet to carry around with me, trying to remember everything. But sometimes when you talk about it again, it kind of refreshes and it comes back to me. So, so tell me about that first session, because I know that it was pretty profound for you. It was a huge shift, right?
Well, yeah. You said one thing, and I'm still trying to figure it out what it exactly means, but it resonated so heavily with me. That I feel like it was one of those things where it's just like, okay, I got to figure out what this means for me, right? Because you said you're Andromedan, and I'm like, I don't even know what that means.
And I don't really either.
Exactly, but just that idea that, like, because through the session, you were talking about like the things that you were coming to be, that I needed to let go of things, and that's all very sort of, I don't want to say typical, but natural, normal.
Typical of a session, because that's typically what I see, is like, what is there that's still on that, like that baggage that you need to be aware of, so that you can move it on up and out, and then be done with it, and then on to the next timeline. Yeah,
and I think in that session, I think what happened was there was all sort of that, okay, so here's this idea, Gordon, that you need to see or hear, know about who you are, or who you can be, or that will help you to understand the bigger picture that you need to see, I guess is really where I'm kind of getting to.
Yeah.
And so this idea, that universal perspective, and so this whole idea of like, well, wait a minute, it's like, I'm not just sort of like, I don't want to say trapped, I'm not just here on Earth, like just, this is not just the place, but there's a whole bigger perspective.
Yeah.
And that was the first sort of trigger for me to say, whoa, this is way bigger than I ever thought. I'd always sort of put all of this kind of spirituality and, and the universe, and also that had a real tidy little box for me. Yeah. And it opened up that box. And that's really, I think, was the first thing, and just that whole idea. And I remember in that session really clearly just sort of like feeling very much like kind of in space, and feeling sort of like that ability to kind of sort of float around in it and sort of be a part of it and feel very much connected to it. That was different for me. And it brought home a whole bunch of things that I've always just loved, like this connection to the stars and space and the universe, and having this idea about, being a part of it, a real part of it, and then everything else around me being equally a part of it. And that had never been something, from a church perspective, that was sort of allowed to sort of think. It's like, we're the humans, we're created different, we're above everything else.
We pray outside of us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the whole idea of just like, walking up to a tree and putting a hand on the tree and sharing that energy and feeling that, feeling it, and then expanding from there. I don't even sort of feel like I have to sort of put hands on anything anymore, but just feeling it, like sitting here amongst all of the flowers, and with other people, I just like, I'm feeling all this energy now that I just had denied. Yeah. And it was a super eye opener for me. That was really, if you want to talk about awakenings, that to me was sort of it was almost like I walked up to this door, and then in that session, he's so fun. Yeah, I walked up to a door, and then that door just kind of swung open, and beyond it was truly the universe, and I stepped through it.
Cool. Yeah. So what did you see in your life around you change? Because within you, there's things changing now. You're shifting. Your perspective is shifting, which shifts energy, which helps you clear things. And so what did you see in your immediate life around you change?
Yeah, well, I mean, the connection, congruence, suddenly I felt me. I felt really real, really genuine, and that was just, it was something that I hadn't felt in a very, very long time.
Yeah, so you're kind of like remembering who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is our purpose for being here.
Mm-hmm.
We're going from like, oh, we're just these little humans and we just experience all these emotions, we experience all these experiences, and then we die and go wherever, right? And so now we're just like, wait, there's way more to that. We are way beyond this physical being.
Yeah, well, even this physical being doesn't even really feel physical anymore.
No.
It feels like energy. It feels like, this is just how we perceive it. That was the latest session that we had. It was
Okay,
really kind of like, so things have been progressing through the sessions, and that was the sort of one of the latest things. It's just like, the whole universe is trapped inside this, bag of flesh, but it's not trapped at all. It's just in here, and it's like, you're open to it, and it's all in here, and there's no barrier.
So how did it feel going from the church experience to, like, was there guilt? Was there like, I feel like shame, like I'm like you're abandoning something, or how did that transition feel, or that different perspective shift, how you felt about it?
Yeah, it was a process, and still is a process. I felt a lot of guilt because I was a pastor. So I was kind of like the dogma salesperson, so to speak, right? And I was really good at it. I mean, like
did you believed?
I believed it. And I sought to study and understand it, and it's like to really comprehend it, from like 10 different directions, but still within the acceptable dogma, right? So I was like, I went to the Billy Graham School of Evangelism. I knew my craft really well as a pastor. But then looking back, and I hear, I remember people, and and I think to myself, I hear what they were trying to say, and I wish I could kind of go back and to say, no. Remember when I told you that it was this and this and this, and this is what you need to do, and here's the steps too, and this is how it all works. No, I'm sorry, I was wrong. And that's been a little bit hard to carry and let go, and I have been letting it go and realizing that, in each moment, it was hopefully what they won't remember necessarily so much the words, but so much that, I really did in that moment care for them. And
well, of course, you weren't being a greasy salesman. You were just doing what you felt.
What I felt strongly about. Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and what you were taught.
Yeah, exactly. My understanding at the time, I shared. Just like I would share my understanding now.
And neither is wrong.
No,
it's just now you're able to zoom out and see it from a new enlightened perspective.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's the I got to say, from the positive side, that I'm looking at this. It's like, even going back through like ancient texts that I know and studied, and that and ancient wisdoms, and even things like the Bible and what was said in that, I'm looking at it and thinking, whoa, I understand this actually way more than I did before. I had this provincial view of it, but now this expanded view is amazing.
Yeah,
expansion.
That's what's happening. I think for all of us is an expansion. We're going from because we're programmed from the minute we're born. We're like the society and like the things that are on TV. It's like, this is appropriate behavior. This is how we act. This is what we do. And everybody goes on this path, and like you got to do it in this linear way. And now we're like, oh wait. And it's not just that we're awakening. I feel like there's assistance with this, like whether you call it interstellar or frequencies or whatever, there's an assistance that is helping us all shift.
There's something bigger happening, and that we can choose to be a part of. That's really kind of how I've been thinking of it. Whatever the catalyst for it is. It kind of doesn't matter. It's just there's something bigger happening.
And I feel like it's a very positive experience. I feel like it's divinely timed. For the trajectory that the planet was on, like humanity was on, the confusion, the isolation, the division, all of that stuff. It's shifting things within people now, so that there's going to be more unity, there's going to be more peace, because the more people that are realizing their authentic truths, the easier it is to be aligned and peaceful. Right? If you're at peace with yourself, if you can see your past and not have any regrets and just be like, I'm right here right now, I'm in this beautiful expansion, then that's where the peace is. And you want world peace, Well, it all starts with each person.
Yeah, exactly.
And so the more you get to know yourself without the identities, right? Because the identities are coming from the programming.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, I was a pastor.
Mm-hmm.
I was whatever I was, all the other things I've done.
Yeah.
But
too,
like
yeah.
we made it our identity when
Mm-hmm.
it was like, wait, no, we're energy. We're like beautiful expressions of it.
Yeah.
Right. And so following your joy is what we're actually here to do. We're supposed to follow our joy. So what you've done is like you've done what you were doing, and then you've taken off this trajectory of alignment.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your second session. Have we done one? We've done two?
We talked about the first one. I jumped to the third one. Sorry.
Oh.
I jumped ahead. The second session. So the second session is where I kind of got to meet Simon, which is very funny to me. And this is still really weird for me. But
a
really
lot of
weird,
people say that was so weird.
Yeah, it's really weird, but it's super real. Like I have to say, it is such a real thing for me that I can't not talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just I can't avoid it, because if I do, then I'm avoiding what's real.
Yes.
But yeah, I have this idea of I guess part of me in coming into the second session, I had so many questions. Right, it's like starseed, the Darmadon, the universe. So what does it mean? Like, how do I?
Those new words.
Yeah, exactly. I know they're doing so much reading. Trust me.
Yeah, I know. I kind of gave you some homework there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and then and in sort of doing my reading and doing this stuff and that, and as an artist, like I'm trying to see how does this all fit in, and all these things I've learned about that, and things are starting to really come together for me. Right, they're starting to really sort of like resonate, and all the good words,
Yeah.
So
frequencies.
Exactly. All the everything, whatever, all the good words were happening, but I still didn't really understand it, and I felt like I kind of needed a guide or a helper kind of thing, just like I needed a mentor or something like that, and I was really looking externally for that again,
Mm-hmm.
and then but then in the session and in creating a little bit of a brand around my art. This idea of an octopus came together, and it came in the second session. You confirmed it.
It showed up.
It showed up. Yeah, it was. You said, "I see an octopus," and I'm like, "Okay, well, that's kind of cool, because that's sort of what I've been seeing too."
Well, and typically when I get a message from, like, there's almost always an animal comes in, like an animal of some kind comes in, and I have this messages from spirit animals, and not to say that it's your spirit animal, but it's just that there's bonus messages that come from them, so that they usually kind of interact with the session. So it's pretty cool. But the octopus came up, and I think I read you the meaning. I probably read you,
you did,
the message from the octopus, but it was way more significant to you.
Well, and also because it was like in the session, I met him. And that was what was kind of like
okay, so you saw the octopus,
I saw it.
and I saw the octopus, and then we talked about it.
Yeah, and then we talked about it after.
Okay,
yeah, and it was
cool.
so, like I said,
I
it was
love when
just
that
kind of,
happens.
exactly,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, well, this serendipity stuff. Like I said, all the good words.
Yeah.
But anyway, I saw it, like, and it was, I had been really pulled towards the water, had been my whole life, and it goes back to like I have a Métis background. And my people, when they met the French, were like, they were all about Lake Huron and all about sort of mapping it out with the French traders and that. So the water's been really like strong in my background, and growing up in Windsor, we're surrounded by water, so water's massive for me. And I had been really drawn to it, like wanting to like touch the water, wanting to be near the water, as always, but so much stronger now.
Yeah.
And so in the session, I felt drawn to, like, felt like I was on the beach and drawn to the water, and put my hand in, and then this hand grabbed me. And it was an octopus arm, right? And then it pulled me down into the water really, really deep. And so far down in the water that it was like, I was scared at first, because I'm like, I can't breathe down here. And then one of the other arms sort of grabbed my mouth and just covered it, as if to say, like, shush,
Yeah.
And then pulled me
Just
down super
experience
deep,
it.
like kind of like Mariana's Trench deep. Like, it was completely dark. Everything was gone. It was just me and this octopus. And I'm sitting there staring at it in this moment. And I'm like, okay, now what? And so the octopus was just kind of looking at me, and arms are sort of doing, like, and I reached out to it, and I said, okay, are you like, am I supposed to come with you, or are you coming with me? And the octopus sort of like grabbed me, all 8 arms, sort of like, I'm coming with you. And it was like, oh, okay, it's you. This is what I've been looking for. I've been looking for this sort of like helper, this sort of like somebody to sort of like be able to pull in or move away, like all these 8 arms, you know, it's like, you know, sometimes they hold me, sometimes they push things away from me, sometimes he pulls things towards me, sometimes he, you know, keeps my hand from something, sometimes he covers my mouth. It's just sort of this external view for me, this certain, like, sort of picture of all the stuff that's happening inside me. And so Simon, I don't know why he saw him. I have no idea why he saw him.
It's irrelevant
just what
why.
it is.
It's just, that's what it is.
It's Simon. But anyway, so Simon is kind of always around, and it really helps me to process the myriad of things. There's so much happening inside that I think Simon gives me that opportunity to sort of like
My dog, hang on one second.
Yes, so Bill has a treat now. We're good.
Yeah, we're good.
Simon really helps me to understand all of the crazy things that are going on. There's so many things that are happening now. You know, it's like, you know, this art is happening, and words are happening for me again, and inspiration's happening, and then this whole idea of I can transform energy again, you know, like as an artist, like transforming energy into an art really is a big thing for me.
My dogs are very much a part of this, my life.
So that's Simon.
Okay.
So he's
awesome.
sort of like a spirit animal, and it's cool because a bunch of stuff has come in, and it's like from an indigenous perspective, the octopus is the keeper of what cannot be held. You know, and it's like, that really again resonates with me. It's just this sort of like, you know, you can't contain the universe. Yeah. Right, and yet, you know, so it's like, so I get to own sort of like my part in the universe, but it can't be held. It has to be shared. It has to be, you know, and it can't be contained. So, you know, it's just it seemed very congruent for me. So I've just embraced it, you know, as wacky as it seemed to me initially.
Well, it's such a such a wild ride when you go from like your upbringing, being a pastor, and like just all the spiritual toolbox for you has just kind of exploded and opened up, and now you have many more tools, and because you're understanding things from a different perspective. So. Yeah,
and I can grab stuff from things that really interested me before that I sort of wasn't allowed to grab, or wasn't recommended, like Buddhism and the Tao and all that. I can see these things that I think are congruent with and I enjoy. You know, and things like, you know, Ikigai, I think is a really great concept. So I can grab that, I can own that now, and there's no barrier.
There's no restrictions.
Yeah, that's
we're limitless.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so you're understanding your limitless potential.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. So where are you now? Like, what's happening for you now?
Yeah. Well, so that's, I guess. So now it's how do you work this out in the everyday? You know, it's like, so I get that you can't feel, you know, every day isn't going to be spent in the dead quiet of the dark with Simon and the bottom of the ocean, but you still need those moments. So how do you incorporate it into your everyday, and then how do you incorporate it into the things that normally we wouldn't associate with it, like work? Yeah. You know, it's like, so how do you go to work and bring the universe to work?
Yeah. So, and I feel like it's since when you're aligned, you're doing things that are good for your soul, rather than going to that typical 9 to 5. You know, the way we were programmed, like work is drudgery. We have to go to work, and like we have to grind and everything like that. And it's like, now it's like, if it doesn't resonate, if it doesn't feel good, I'm not doing it. So now we're finding more ways to, and my favorite affirmation is, I get paid to be me. I'm just me. Yep. And I get paid to talk to people. I get paid to teach people. And I've always loved to talk, and I've always loved to teach. Yep. And it's like, from a childhood, like I look back at the things I used to love to do. I was an entrepreneur from when I was like really young. Like I had opportunities to do different businesses all the time. And I just feel like that's what we're doing right now. It's just like, it's life is just flowing. And when you go to work, it's actually something that you enjoy. So it doesn't feel like work.
I'm smiling so much that my cheek is
it's fluttering.
It's fluttering. Thank you, Simon. It's just tapping my cheek.
Yeah.
So that's exactly it. And this is and it's funny because it's like this sine wave, you know, right now. It's like, you know, it's like, okay, I'm getting it and I'm working it out and I'm being me and I'm getting paid for it. You know, I hope to get paid for it, but I'm being me and everything's great. And then it's like, oh, I dropped back into the old, you know, salesman, you know, it's like, I make this work and I drive this and I do this. And it's like, wow, trying to find that balance, right?
But that awareness of it helps you to come back up out of it more efficiently.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Even if you look back and say, oh,
Yeah.
But at least then it's like it doesn't have to become this downward spiral where you go back to everything and it all unravels. It's just like, oh, I blew it, and then it's like, okay, we need to regroup. Let's get back on it, and then let's remember who we are. And that's the cool part for me right now, is that I don't have to remember some teaching or some external thing. I just kind of remember who you are, Gordon.
Yeah.
You know, remember who you've been created to be as part of this, like, you know, giant expansive thing, and you're okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're okay. You're good who you are. Just be who you are.
And I feel like the more you know yourself, the more you say no to things that kind of insult your soul.
Yeah.
Whereas we used to just kind of partake in whatever was presented to us. Now we're just like, no, that's not for me.
Well, that was the last session that we had. One of the things that you said afterwards is that, like, I had kind of thought that I have a lot of physical pain from car accidents and stuff like that, and I felt like I had to carry it somehow. And
you did. You even said, like, I feel like I've accepted that I'm carrying this, and I was like, but you don't have to.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
That's an old timeline. Like that is.
Yeah.
And I talk about timelines all the time, but it's basically like every choice point, everything that you make up in your mind creates where you go, creates the reality. So if you can decide, I don't have to carry that. That's an old part of me. Then so it is. You're free of it, right? So the experience of it is like has been acknowledged, acknowledge, accept, set it free. Yeah. And then you're on to the next thing.
Exactly.
And you're that much lighter.
Yeah.
And you've taken off some density in your field, right? So that life can flow.
Well, and the way what I've kind of figured out is that, like, the job is to sort of become sort of like that city on a hill full of light. And so it's like, you know, and this is, I talk about this with Terry all the time, you know, it's like, this is our job. Our job is to just become this place of light, this city on a hill that draws people into it that need it, and that is there to see in the distance for others and maybe wonder about it. But whatever it is, that's who we're supposed to be.
Yeah.
You know, the city on a hill, the city of light, this place of acceptance and positivity and beauty and light and empowerment and all the good words.
Yeah, it resonates.
Right, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're more than welcome to come to our city of light. And you're more than welcome to see us from wherever you are, but we're not coming into the dark valley anymore. And
it's like the sun. The sun benefits us, and it's not working at it. It's just being.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what we're supposed to do. We work at ourselves, and then we are just being. We be who we are, and say how we feel, and do what we want, and those who mind don't matter. And those who matter don't mind.
Exactly.
That's a Dr. Seuss quote. I didn't make that up.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Okay, so, well, thank you so much for sharing your story. That is pretty courageous to step out and
it's just what's real.
Be who you are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's just it. And you know what? And I'm getting way past the idea that I need to be anybody other than that.
Yeah.
And that's probably the biggest shift. It's the biggest shift.
So freeing.
Yeah. No more uniforms.
Yeah, exactly. No more masks. No more anything. Just being yourself.
With me.
Thank you, Gord.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.